My guest today is Ben Rao, an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, a noted author, and an advocate for family caregivers. He's the author of what I think is a terrific book, Paying for Long-Term Care, A Guide to Understanding and Funding Senior Care. And he's co-founder of Mom's House, which helps families solve one of the biggest challenges we have is what to do with our loved one's house when they go into long-term care. And he has come up with an amazingly straightforward, easy, simple solution for you to just literally hand over the keys and say, we're out of here. So it's a pleasure to spend time with you, Ben. And I just want to jump right into some things. Hey, Ben, what are the top 5 mistakes that caregivers make when it comes to long-term care?
I think a lot of people skip a lot of the steps and go straight to Google and start saying assisted living near me, nursing homes near me, skilled nursing near me, memory care, whatever that may be near me. And that's not the place they should start. So I think that's probably the number one mistake. When I was writing the book, I didn't originally have a plan to create a 5-step path for families. But as I got into it, it just kind of evolved into realizing I was really creating this roadmap for families to follow, to be able to say, I start here and I end here, and here's are the steps. And then throughout the book, we break down what those different steps are. So when we talk about paying, I think that's one of the other big mistakes. I think one of the big mistakes is making decisions for the family member without including them. We're not treating them like a child. They're part of that decision if they can be. Some of these care communities are amazing as far as the amenities and how they feel. I've walked through some of them and like, I would live here. I would live here. This is amazing. Coffee shops and multiple restaurants and activities and all these things. So I think when you talk about some of the mistakes, family members make mistakes because I think they're thinking of the old days and the way that the care communities were. And today they're so competitive that they're doing lots of different things. I went in one and they had a Zoom room. So you could go in and use screens so then you could Zoom with family members. And so they're doing things to create amenities, experiences for the residents to make it a better experience for them. So it's not your grandmother's nursing home. When I talked about that roadmap, it really starts with figuring out what level of care that the senior needs. That's the place that it all starts. We have an assessment tool on payingforlongtermcare.com that's free. It's a third-party software product that we use that a lot of care communities use. And so somebody can go out and take, it's about 20 questions and you're answering them. And then at the end, it spits out the results and it gives you ideas of what you might need to be looking for. And so that's a great resource. I talk about that in the book, but figuring out the first step is what level of care. The next is kind of assessing all the assets, defining and what assets does your family have. We haven't gotten to the point of choosing a place yet. You got to know what you have before you know what you can afford. So I have some download sheets that are on the website. In the book, I talk in terms of the different things you need to be looking for from an asset perspective. So having these conversations early and often, I'd say that's probably the 4th mistake is being afraid to have a conversation with a loved one because it's a difficult conversation and it's uncomfortable for all parties. So once we kind of get to the point of knowing what the assets are and what some of the interests are, now it's time to start looking. It's time to start seeing what's out there and what's available. Another thing that there's a downloadable sheet to help compare different care communities that are there. And so it's like 3 pages of line items of questions to ask or consider to understand what the needs, lifestyle, wants. It's things like, they're going to bring a pet. There's 70 pages dedicated to all the different types of ways that you can pay for care. But the Medicaid really is going to kick in as government assistance when we have spent all of our assets and we have no money left. I think most Americans don't realize it's going to cost $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000 a month to go into kind of a mid-range to lower range care community. Some of these places in both assisted living and independent living, they have their own kitchens. So fully functional kitchen that they can cook. Maybe they don't want to cook all the time, or they just want to have a punch card to have so many X number of dinners. So these are a lot of things that I think that people don't realize are available that that make these care communities a really good option, a home.
Let's talk about funding options. We
Oh boy.
touched on it a little bit, but what are our options for funding our loved ones' long-term care?
The one that I think that gets overlooked the most is VA aid and attendance. Let's say you've got a woman that had a spouse that was in the military, and that spouse died 8 years ago. And now it's time for me, as the woman that was married to somebody that was in the military, that I need care. They're not even thinking that that may be an option for them, that they would qualify for some money that's there based on that their spouse served. Then you get to the point that you have to do the paperwork. And we've got some great connections and friends that do national coverage for VA aid and attendance applications. And happy that if you go to the payingforlongtermcare.com, you'll see in the resources section, there's something for veterans. If you're a veteran, a spouse of a veteran, you can go there, click on that, just say you're interested, and we can connect you with one of those companies that's all they do for a living, is help people fill out that paperwork and understand if they qualify. A lot of people think that they have Medicare and it's going to cover their long-term care expenses, and that's not really true. Your Medicaid is going to do that. You're going to have some activities of daily living that you have to qualify for. There's paperwork, and you have to do what's called spending down all your assets. The other one, long-term care insurance. That I'm a partner of a company called Family Solutions for Care, and they're advocates for long-term care insurance claims. If anybody's got a long-term care insurance policy and you're thinking about using it, you definitely want to make sure that you get that policy reviewed by our team there. That's all about people not understanding the policies, the insurance companies being hard to get a hold of, and not maximizing what typically somebody's been paying on for 20 years. But that insurance policy is there to help pay for long-term care or home health care. Selling your house could be a great solution to help pay for care. That was the foundational piece that we built Mom's House on, one of the companies you mentioned earlier. But families that live remotely from their family members, or they have a house that's filled with stuff that's not maintained, and they don't want to deal with it, and they want a resource that can help come in and just buy the house as is and let you take whatever you want out of it and not worry about it. That's really what Mom's House does. Thank you for having me on the show. And we are setting up a domain on Paying for Long-Term Care just for your listeners.
Oh, that's great.
So if you go to payingforlongtermcare.com/free book, we are going to give an electronic version of the book free to any of your listeners, just because of all the work that you're doing. And so that's payingforlongtermcare.com/free book. You can get that there. If you want to purchase the book, we're doing it for, I think it's like $5 or $6. It's normally $15 just to pay for the shipping and handling.
I have to say, if you're dealing with this issue, if you're thinking, should I keep my loved one at home or care community? How do I fund this? Well, what are the options? What do these terms mean? Honestly, I lived through this with that book in my back pocket. So I thank you for doing that. And anybody who's listening or watching who's going through this, you have to get that book.